on this Monday night.
The 6 boys arrested today have each been charged with assault, gang sexual assault, and sexual assault with a weapon.
Criminal charges and a deepening crisis at a private boys' school in Toronto. Why didn't more people come forward after seeing a video of what happened?
This is our biggest week. So we have our biggest days of the year during this period.
Crunch time in the Canada Post dispute with undelivered packages piling up. What are the options for retailers and consumers?
And a shortage of a common antidepressant has doctors and patients taking drastic measures. This is The National. At St. Michael's College School, first it was rumors and a video swirling on social media. Then came expulsions. Now it's criminal charges. The disturbing allegations of student assaults at the Toronto private school have led to charges for 6 boys. Tonight, The National speaks with students, an expert, and a survivor of a similar assault about how this could happen, how widespread it could be. But we start with the police announcement today.
More than 50 witnesses have been identified, and more information comes to us daily.
The lurid litany of charges against the 6 boys today were tied to just one incident. Police said today they're investigating 3 others, and there could be more.
I can't get into what's leading me to believe that, but I do believe that there's more videos and/or more incidents.
The inspector left open the possibility of child pornography charges for those still possessing or distributing the video that led to all this. And they left open the possibility that the school administration could face consequences for how it handled the situation. So we are well past the moment of shocked inaction, of cautious attempts to get a handle on what happened one time. We are at a different point now where the story spirals. And Olivia Stefanovic tells us it's not clear where all this stops.
Little consolation can be found outside the prestigious all-boys private school, where goodness, discipline, and knowledge are written on the walls. But the opposite appears to have happened between them.
These incidents are clearly indicative we have a problem.
6 students between the ages of 14 and 15 are facing charges of assault, gang sexual assault, and assault with a weapon, stemming from a video that the principal received last Monday evening and didn't report to police until Wednesday.
I know I'm being criticized for that, but I've spoken with the victims' parents. They are very pleased with the timeline.
But all the negative attention has led to threats against the school and a heavy police presence. 4 incidents are being investigated, including the alleged sexual assault in a locker room.
I'm not going to comment. I think the media's only made it worse. So.
Why is that, sir?
Few want to address the severity of the crimes, at least with the media.
How are you feeling about today's charges? Do you feel safe sending your son to this school?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's a good school. A few kids don't do anything.
I think some people can relate to this.
The reaction from parents dismays this former student.
I think that's absolutely ridiculous how they're more focused on saving the name of St. Mike's over even addressing like what this kid must have went through. I think that's absolutely unbelievable, and it honestly sickens me.
We've agreed to protect his identity because he fears backlash for speaking out. He says he left the school 1 year before graduation over a culture that he says revered privilege and condoned bullying.
I don't think enough really was done by the teachers at the school.
You wanted out?
I did, yeah.
Toronto police say they already have more videos, hinting there may be more victims. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Toronto.
When I spoke with St. Mike's principal yesterday, he suggested the school would have an app so students could digitally report incidents. Today, he said they're still exploring that option while the school responds in other ways. It's installed an anonymous voicemail tip line. It's hiring a social worker, and it has begun selecting independent investigators for a so-called deep dive review of the school's culture going back years.
The goal is to make the invisible visible and take action.
Among some students, however, this was far from invisible. It was witnessed, captured on camera, and continues to be shared on social media. Ioana Remiliotis explores how kids can see a crime, hear about a crime, and yet say nothing.
It was odd to see a landscaper on the grounds of St. Michael's College today, as if the appearance of normal can be maintained, even as a sickening story breaks open and sparks more outrage. These students go to a nearby school, too young to show their faces, but with a lot to say.
Like I feel bad for that kid. Like he didn't deserve that.
And like what our
It's cruel.
like what our teacher said, those kids, they're just like their future. They ruin their career, their future.
The charges against the students are horrific. So too the fact there were at least 50 witnesses to 4 alleged assaults, and more watching as police say videos of the attacks continue to circulate.
The unintended consequences are far-reaching and detrimental to the recovery of the victim. I cannot stress to you the importance of ensuring that these videos are immediately deleted from all phones or devices in your possession.
And as the perpetrators appeared in court, the case raises disturbing questions too, of the virtual bystanders and the ones who were there. Why didn't they stop them? The answer may lie, experts say, in how pervasive hazing is, how normalized it's become. A recent survey found nearly 60% of Canadian university students endured hazing at least once.
We look at it with shock and awe because it's something that horrifies us. But for these athletes and students, it's been a part of their culture and part of their tradition for so long that they don't see it as problematic. They don't see it as abuse.
Sharing abuse repeatedly online also lessens the shock value. But author Rachel Giza says it may mark an era of reckoning.
The other side of it is it actually also becomes evidence. So I think that there were, generations of kids who would have experienced this kind of violence who had no proof. There was no evidence of what happened.
Back outside the school, that same group of kids say they hope they would have done more.
Yeah, and if I was there, I'd be like, "What are you doing? Like, it's wrong."
Do you think you'd be too scared to?
I would just tell the teacher. I wouldn't really. If they were older, I wouldn't intervene because they would probably do it to me too. So I would probably just tell the teacher.
And also, if they hurt me too, they'll just get in more trouble.
Their logic, so simple and brave. Ioana Remiliotis, CBC News, Toronto.
The alleged attacks sound eerily similar to what happened to Darcy McEwen a little over a decade ago. He's a St. Michael's alumni, but what happened to him occurred when he was a student at McGill University when he was sexually assaulted by his teammates. I sat down with him earlier to talk about how he felt when he first heard the news about St. Mike's.
So hearing that happens there is a flood of emotions. It's disappointment that it could happen at a place that I felt was so safe. It was frustration that these things are still going on, and really a little bit of fear that somehow what I went through at McGill and my connection to St. Mike's is what gave the kids the idea to go through with that act.
We also talked about why he thinks this is still happening and what he wants the students at St. Mike's to know. That's coming up a little later on The National.
Now to the latest in the ongoing Canada Post strike that could be affecting a lot of Canadians this holiday season. The union rejecting the latest offer from Canada Post. The company asked the union to push pause on rotating strikes for the busy holiday season, hoping more than 1 million packages stuck in hundreds of trucks could get back on the road for delivery. The employment minister was asked about negotiations just ahead of question period.
It certainly does feel like parenting sometimes when you're working with two parties who refuse to sit down and get a deal. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that's when you have strong collective agreements. When employers and unions work together to get a deal that works for everyone, that's when those agreements are long-lasting and are respected in the workplace.
With neither side moving and that backlog of packages, the pressure is on shoppers and shippers to find another way. Diane Buckner has that story.
You're looking at the biggest backlog of deliveries Canada Post has ever seen. Over 400 tractor-trailer loads at this Toronto processing plant, hundreds more in Vancouver and Montreal. Every truck is loaded with about 2,500 parcels.
We are hitting a time where if we don't clear the backlog soon, those Black Friday, Cyber Monday volumes are going to hit, and that kicks off a period of several weeks where we see double the volumes that we normally do.
The company has asked its international partners to stop sending mail and parcels to Canada. The timing of the labor dispute couldn't be worse.
This is our biggest week. So we have our biggest days of the year during this period, and eBay's like every other e-commerce player in that. This is the Super Bowl of e-commerce happens this week.
Andrea Stairs heads up eBay Canada.
Can you screen grab that?
She says 80 to 90% of the sellers on the e-commerce website use Canada Post to ship product.
The big guys can figure out alternative shipping arrangements and they can afford them. The little guys are the ones that have a real difficulty with that.
You wouldn't have to go direct to carriers?
There are alternative ways to ship. This company works with couriers other than the post office.
Right now we're slammed. We've been getting virtually, hundreds of signups, each and every week since word of it.
But every courier and delivery service in Canada put together couldn't handle the load Canada Post does.
We deliver 2 out of every 3 parcels that Canadians order online. We serve 200,000 small businesses, 11,000 medium to large size retailers, and then all the Canadians in between that.
With no resolution in sight, online retailers are warning customers of delays, and online shoppers may actually be considering a trip to the mall. Diane Buckner, CBC News, Toronto.
To Ontario now, where Premier Doug Ford is getting an earful about budget cuts affecting the province's French speakers, deciding to step away from both a planned French university and a dedicated commissioner for French language services. Quebec's premier wants those decisions reversed. And so do many of Ontario's 620,000 francophones. As the largest concentration of French speakers outside of Quebec, this is a significant issue for a lot of people. Premier Doug Ford may have underestimated how angry they are and how much support they have. As Catherine Cullen tells us, Ford's stance is more than just a provincial issue.
Good evening.
Good evening, Doug. It's William. I'm sorry to miss your call.
No problem, my friend.
That is Doug Ford on the line, known for calling concerned constituents back. Friday, he took a call from this 20-year-old Franco-Ontarian.
You didn't consultate any of our Francophone organisms. How come?
Okay, my friend, I can't be any clearer. We don't have the money. Unless you want to pull money up, you want to fund it, by all means. We don't have the money.
Today, William Burton says he's glad Ford spoke to him, but he doesn't feel the Premier was really listening.
It's a right to be French in Canada, and we're one of the 2 official languages, so he's missing a lot of information, crucial information.
There you go, my friend. Thank you.
It's not just an Ontario issue. Today, Quebec's Premier raised it with Ford, seemingly to no avail.
I don't think it sends a good message to Francophone. But it's not my decision, it's his decision.
Thing is, there are a lot of Francophones in Canada. In Quebec, yes, but also in Ontario and significant populations in New Brunswick and Manitoba. So for a Ford ally hoping to win more seats across the country, this has become a bit touchy. Andrew Scheer said yesterday he did raise the subject with Ford, but
did you ask him to reverse the decision?
As I said, it's up to Mr. Ford to manage those types of things.
The federal Liberals, though, want to make this Scheer's issue to manage, saying the Conservative leader, rather than the federal government, is the one who must stop Ford.
He needs to have the political courage to do that. If he does that, actually, he's affecting the rights of Francophones all across the country.
As for Ford, he is pushing back against the political pressure, pointing out, for example, that Francophone University hadn't opened yet.
Again, it wasn't cut when you never had it there in the first place, right? So it was a promise.
Ford has said that this is about saving money, not about French, or he says about English or Spanish or any other language. But the politics around the French language are distinct. Even if Ford himself seems immune, the political pressure is growing. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
Turning now to an acute shortage in medicine cabinets across the country. A growing number of people who rely on prescription drugs are discovering their pharmacy has run out. In fact, tonight there are more than 1,600 drugs that cannot be filled, many for critical and chronic conditions. And that shortage list just keeps getting longer. Our health reporter Christine Birak has more on the drug deficits that are putting patients' comfort and care at risk.
Well, as of right now, I really only have 4 tablets of the brand name Wellbutrin left over.
And he has a handful of generics. That's it for a drug used to treat depression called bupropion.
We call neighboring pharmacies to see if they have any supply.
This psychiatrist is now seeing anxious patients worried their medication will run out.
It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. So when there's a shortage like this, some patients might scramble and they may be able to find another antidepressant that's effective, but they may not.
DrugShortagesCanada.ca houses a master list of over 1,000 medications in short supply. It reveals there are just 2 companies manufacturing bupropion in Canada. Why the shortage? Mylan Pharmaceuticals notes a delay in shipping. Valiant, now called Bosch Health, doesn't offer any explanation. If you suspect drug shortages are created by companies to raise prices, you're not alone.
I had that thought in my mind, aha, it's evil pharma, but really that's not the case. First of all, in Canada, drug companies cannot arbitrarily raise prices even when there is a shortage.
Instead, shortages and price spikes may have more to do with a lack of interest in older drugs by companies and doctors.
Doctors learn that there is this new drug, so they stop using the old drug, even though there may be thousands of people still using the old drug. The old drug no longer is profitable. And so companies will stop making it.
To take back some control of the generic drug supply, a group of major American hospitals has launched a not-for-profit generic drug company. Their first drug is expected to be ready next year.
It hops around from one to another.
The bupropion shortage might soon be resolved, but there is a growing list of drugs, leaving empty spaces on pharmacy shelves. Christine Birak, CBC News, Aurora, Ontario.
Here are some of the other stories we're watching on The National tonight. An Ontario man who claimed he was asleep when he sexually assaulted a woman back in 2011 has been found criminally responsible.
Shocked because it's finally over, but relieved overall, just, finally some justice.
The woman was raped 7 years ago while she was sleeping. Her attacker, Ryan Hartman, was convicted of assault but appealed that decision twice. The second time he admitted to the crime but claimed that he had sexomnia and didn't know he was raping her. Today, the judge said that Hartman failed to prove that he suffers from the sleep disorder and said it's more likely he blacked out from alcohol. Well, you may be surprised this hasn't happened already, but today, BC's government introduced legislation to legalize ride-hailing. However, it will probably be next fall before you can grab an Uber or Lyft in Vancouver. A Crown corporation controls vehicle insurance in this province and is still working on its plan. So, people we heard from today say they are still looking forward to some competition for taxis.
I've got a disability. I can't drive. I never will be able to drive. So it's something I'm really looking forward to.
Right now, Vancouver is the largest city in North America without legal ride-hailing. And Calgary's Olympic bid is officially dead after unanimous vote by City Council. It will also reveal details of the process, including how much it spent. This decision follows last week's plebiscite when 56% of Calgarians said they did not want to pursue the 2026 Winter Games.
Ahead tonight on The National, Viola Desmond makes her debut on the new $10 bill. We're there as her sister celebrates.
And we'll have a CBC News investigation. They were sexually assaulted by their teachers, and now, decades later, they want to know why their school board failed to protect them.
First, though, we'll return to the St. Michael's investigation, my in-depth conversation with Darcy McEwen, a St. Mike's alumni who at university became a victim of sexual assault. His message to potential victims, next.
You're not alone. There are way more people who have gone through this than anyone cares to admit. You may feel alone, you may feel angry, afraid, that's all perfectly normal.
Indigenous, First Nations, Inuit, Métis,
Aboriginal? There are so many different terms out there that it can be kind of confusing if you don't know what they all mean. But actually, it might be simpler than you think. I'm Ozzie Michelin and I'm an Inuk journalist from Northwest River, Labrador, and I'm here to teach you how to talk about Indigenous people in Canada. Let's start with the term Indigenous. According to the United Nations, there are 370 million Indigenous people worldwide, spread across 70 countries. In Canada, there are approximately 1.4 million people who identify as Indigenous. Here, there are three distinct groups that make up the term Indigenous: First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. First Nations is the largest and most varied group of Indigenous people, and they can be found from coast to coast to coast. Sometimes I hear people using the term Indigenous and First Nations as if they were interchangeable, but they're not. Using Indigenous when you're referring to a specific group is kind of like saying Asian when you're referring to the Vietnamese or South Koreans. It works sometimes, but if you use it all the time, it just sounds wrong. The rule of thumb is to be as specific as possible. If somebody's Cree, it's okay to refer to them as being Cree, and if you don't know, ask them how they self-identify. Next are the Métis. The Métis are the descendants of First Nations and European settlers, and often refer to a distinct geographic group coming from the historic Northwest. You can find Métis all across Canada, but they all share a unique, distinct cultural heritage. The Inuit are the maritime circumpolar people of Canada, with a homeland stretching all the way from Siberia to Greenland. In Canada, there are 4 Inuit homelands, but they're not all just north of 60, with populations in both Quebec and Labrador. In the Inuit language, Inuktitut, the word Inuit means people. And you might have heard the term Inuk before. Inuk means person. So remember, it's one Inuk, many Inuit. And don't say Inuit people, because that's redundant. So that's it for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. But what about Aboriginal? Do we still even use that term? Well, generally, no.
We have reason to believe that there may be more videos and more incidents.
So an all-boys private school in Toronto continues to spiral in scandal. As we heard earlier, 6 teens have been charged in connection with an alleged sexual assault at St. Michael's College. Police are investigating 3 other incidents, some of them shared on social media, and they warned there could be more charges. So as shocking as all of this is, it's also vaguely familiar. It's not the first time a Canadian school has been confronted with similar allegations.
There was inappropriate behavior at an initiation activity that was held by one of our sports teams.
So back in 2005, an 18-year-old freshman football player was sexually assaulted at McGill University in Montreal. It was during a hazing ritual perpetrated by a group of veteran players. While no criminal charges were ever filed, several students were suspended, and the university canceled the rest of its football season. Darcy McEwen was the 18-year-old victim of that hazing incident. We sat down with him earlier today. If you can take us back to McGill. When you joined McGill and when you decided to join the football team, what sort of discussions were happening around initiation rites or hazing or any of that?
I mean, there was this rumor going around that at the end of training camp there'd be a proctology exam with Dr. Broom for every entering rookie who made the cut, and you know, it was kind of lord over us the entire time. What really shocked me was that it was mentioned in front of coaching staff and support staff, trainers, things like that, which kind of reinforced what I suspected, or what I had suspected at the time, which is that it was all kind of mental warfare, trying to mess with their head a little bit before training camp concluded.
So you never thought they'd actually go through with something like this? It was just a threat?
I thought that if they had been smart enough to get into McGill and all that, that yes, they would have been smart enough to know that something like that is not appropriate.
Can you walk us through what actually happened to you?
Yeah, so it started after a mandatory team dinner in one of the dining halls. And from that point, they had all the rookies take off their shirts, hold hands, and skip down to the athletic center while calling us homophobic slurs. They then led us into these basically squash courts, which are holding pens, and told us to hold the penny to the wall with our nose And every time someone dropped it, it would be another inch with Dr. Broom.
So you can't really see much if you have your nose against the wall, but
And
what was your sense of how many people were there?
So I was in basically a holding pen with the other rookies. One by one, we were taken out to the squash court next door, where we basically had almost like a spotlight on us, and couldn't really see much beyond that. And we saw there were a couple of team captains and some veterans on the floor, and then there were other members of the teams up in the stands. If I had to estimate, somewhere between 30 and 60 all in. What was going through my head at that time is that even before I was let into the room was that, this was all a joke, a thing to mess with us more than a reality. And it wasn't until I got in there and they tell me to strip down and tell me to shove a dog chew toy in my mouth and bend over that, it kind of came to a reality.
And you stopped them?
I left right after. And later I found out that because of my leaving, they ended up shutting down the initiation that night and taking everyone out somewhere. So I didn't stop all of it, but there were limited people who experienced what I experienced because of my leaving.
Have you been able to wrap your head around what the difference would be that would make you be the person to try to stop this when so many other people didn't, and those 30 or 60 people watching didn't put the brakes on this either?
A lot of those people in the room, I don't doubt, especially the athletes who were a year ahead of me, had probably been through the same thing. I know I had one other teammate tell me, yeah, it's real, it happens, it's awful, you deal with it, you move on. And through talking to some other people who've gone through different hazings through the time since McGill, what I've come to realize is that everyone handles things differently. And it's your right to choose how you bounce through this.
Walk me through what was happening when you first heard about St. Mike's.
Hearing the news about St. Mike's was tough for me. During my time there, I never experienced anything like what's come out in the past few days, nor had I heard about other people going through it while I was there. Hearing that happens there is a flood of emotions. It's, disappointment that it could happen at a place that I felt was so safe. It was frustration that these things are still going on. I can't explain why people think this is team building, but it's not. And it really just creates a culture of bullying and, just keeps the ugly tradition going. And, it keeps crimes under the guise of the term hazing when they should be called out for what they are, assault.
The police today made reference to this beginning as hazing and then moving into something else. Mm-hmm. You were watching that news conference. What went through your mind when you heard that word repeated more than once?
I think it shows the issue with people using that term, which is that it's almost chalked up to boys will be boys, or it's just kids messing about, and not really expressing the severity of these actions. And what was even more dangerous too is that more so than when I went through what I did at McGill, there are now videos of these things circulating on the internet, which didn't happen in my case, and those things can pop up forever, essentially.
If you had a chance to talk to the whole grade, get them all in a room, what would you say to them? Witnesses, perpetrators?
One thing about St. Mike's is they have very supportive alumni, and it's a very close-knit group of people, but they need to understand the reality of this. And I think you'd have to run through, okay, here's how this is a crime, here's how videotaping is a crime, and that's just not bullying, hazing, or initiations.
And so my last question is, there is at least one victim out there who's probably still struggling and will for a long time. What, if you get a chance to talk to him, what would you say?
You're not alone. There are way more people who have gone through this than anyone cares to admit. You may feel alone, you may feel angry, afraid, that's all perfectly normal. It'll take time, but you'll get through this, and there are others out there who know how you feel And if you ever need to speak, we'll be there for you.
You mean that? Okay, Darcy, thanks very much.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate that.
We should mention Darcy is the son of Bob McEwen, a co-host of CBC's investigative program, The Fifth Estate.
In Ottawa, some former students at a public school want to know why their school board failed to protect them. 3 teachers associated with Bell High School sexually assaulted teenage boys and girls. The cases go back decades, but a CBC News investigation found the board ignored repeated warnings about 2 of them from students, parents, and teachers. The disturbing details now from the CBC's Julie Ireton.
I feel uncomfortable being here in proximity to it. It's not a good feeling.
Peter Hamer was one of dozens of students sexually abused by teachers at this Ottawa school. He hasn't been back to Bell High in years.
I remember standing back here because this was the office he used, and he called me to the office.
In the 1980s, Hamer's music teacher Bob Clark touched him, asked him to take naked pictures of him, and masturbated in front of him. Clark asked Hamer if he'd keep it secret.
After he had exposed himself, it was the next day. He said, "You gonna tell anybody?" I said, "No, I'm not telling anybody." And he said, "Okay, good." And he was standing right there.
But in 1986, Hamer did tell someone, the school's principal. The next term, Clark was moved to another school. But CBC News has uncovered Clark wasn't the only problem teacher that was moved. Don Grenham was a basketball coach at Bell High in the mid-1970s and early 80s. During that time, Madeline Glaus heard Grenham was molesting students, including her son.
He used to squeeze their genital.
Glaus went to a principal and the school board, but administrators did nothing. It was only after a victim of a third teacher came forward that the secrets started to come out.
Now there's a bunch of us, and it's heartbreaking that there's a bunch of us.
2 years ago, Lori Howitt pressed sexual assault charges against her former Bell music teacher, Tim Stanitz. The incident started when she was 16 years old.
Looking back on it now, I can see how he used grooming and manipulation, and I can see that clearly now, and it makes me sick.
Stanitz was the music teacher who had replaced Bob Clark at the school. Within weeks of charges being laid against Stanitz, other former students came forward to lay charges against Clark and Grenham. Grenham's charges involved 22 former students, but he died before his trial. So did Stanitz. Of the 3, only Bob Clark was convicted. Now his victims want answers.
Mark.
How are you?
How are you?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Come in.
Mark Leach was also abused by Clark. It happened after Peter Hamer complained, after Clark was transferred out of Bell and over to another local high school.
Knowing what I know now, I feel like they purposely put students in a vulnerable position by putting us in a room with that guy. To know that a guy has a certain type of behavior like that and to put him in the room with more kids is like, it's unbelievable.
And the guilt still haunts Peter Hamer. He asked for Clark to leave Bell, and Clark then ended up groping Mark Leach, and his replacement went on to sexually assault Lori Howitt and another teenage girl.
So my piece of it didn't help in any way, and it's taken a lot of therapy to figure out that it wasn't really my responsibility, but that's how I felt at the time.
In a statement, the Ottawa Carleton District School Board says, given the passage of time, it has no plans to open up investigations into these historical cases of sexual abuse. But it says it reviewed employee files to see if anything could have been done differently in these cases and fully cooperated with police investigations. It said abuse should never happen, especially not to a child and not at a school. Julie Ireton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Victims of all 3 teachers have filed lawsuits against the school board. In its statement of defense, the school board denied that Tim Stanitz molested students, but says if abuse did happen, it was done without their knowledge and was not their fault. Statements of defense have not yet been filed in the other lawsuits.
We have a lot more ahead tonight on The National. Rosie will be here after the break with the winner of tonight's Scotiabank Giller Prize.
And in our moment of the day, the new $10 bill with Viola Desmond is here, and who better to spend it first than her sister, Wanda.
You know what I've got here? I have got my sister, Viola, and she's different from the other ones.
These days, anytime the words politics and Facebook show up in the same sentence, it's sure to get people wondering if they're being manipulated. So if an ad appears in your feed, does it mean you're being targeted? And if so, by whom or what? The questions have prompted CBC News and nonprofit ProPublica in the United States to pair up for an interesting experiment.
By downloading an extension for your web browser to track all of those political ads you see on Facebook.
And so this browser extension looks at all the ads that you see in your Facebook feed and prompts you to kind of help us by trying to figure out, which of the ads that you're seeing, are they political, are they not political?
Julian Scher is the coordinator of the project and senior producer of the CBC's The Fifth Estate.
Okay, Julian, so for the last several weeks, I, along with millions of other people around the world, have been trying to figure out if my data was stolen and used and if I was manipulated somehow. And now you're saying to me, how would you like to download another app so I can have some data? What's the argument for this?
It's reassuring, isn't it? And you can't just say, trust me. Well, in many ways, it's good timing because people were feeling powerless. People were being inundated with a lot of this stuff and wondering, what does it mean? And especially, we've got a bunch of elections coming up, provincial elections in Canada, federal elections. So the purpose of this is to, in fact, help people take back control by looking and analyzing at the flood of political ads that you are getting on your Facebook post. We're not collecting personal information. We don't know who is sending in the information. It's a simple extension where you click and that ad gets sent to a database. It's no different really than we get tips all the time. We get emails where people say, hey, I saw this ad. Can you find out who's behind it or can you investigate? This is the same thing. It's just being done automatically.
Okay, so give me an example of what you would do with the information. Give us a hypothetical.
Well, I can give you a real example. We saw one ad where a conservative evangelical leader had posted an ad trying to target people who were concerned about sex education and getting them to vote for Doug Ford. This is perfectly legitimate, but this is interesting. Is this a hot button issue? Will it become a hot button issue? These are the kinds of ads that individuals might see, but the rest of us would not.
And I think you raise an interesting point because political advertising is older than I am, older than you are. It's been around forever. Even targeted advertising, the parties have always had some kind of intel about who votes what way, what they care about. So is the difference here this kind of micro-targeting where no one else knows what someone else is seeing?
Exactly. And in fact, one of the beauties of this app, by the way, is it shows you not only the ads that are appearing on your post, but also across Canada by other users. So actually, it opens up a window for you. But you're right, there's always been this kind of targeting, but not to the level that Facebook allows. And that's what has made Facebook so controversial. And also not with the breadth, because you could reach millions of Canadians with a single post. I mean, the simple fact is that this is the new terrain where politics is being fought. So why shouldn't the public get engaged? Why shouldn't, this is crowdsourcing at its best, why shouldn't the public help CBC and media around the world investigate what politicians and lobby groups are doing in our backyard, which is your browser? So it's empowering, I think. I don't think it's scary.
Tonight on the National, Saudi media is reporting that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman will attend the G20 summit in Buenos Aires later this month. This will bring him face-to-face with leaders from Canada, the United States, Turkey, and Europe for the first time since the death of Jamal Khashoggi. The journalist was killed inside the kingdom's consulate in Istanbul in October, and U.S. intelligence officials have concluded the order came directly from MBS. The White House has restored Jim Acosta's press pass. The CNN correspondent was forced to return it following his exchange nearly 2 weeks ago. At this news conference, the Trump administration claimed Acosta manhandled an intern when she tried to take a microphone from him. CNN decided to sue but dropped its case today after the credentials were restored. It did come with a warning, though. The White House says it could revoke Acosta's pass again if he doesn't follow new press guidelines.
And the 2018 Scotiabank Giller Prize goes to
Essie Adujan for Washington Black.
And there is the Victoria-based author reacting to her big win this evening for her latest novel, Washington Black. The book follows the journey of an 11-year-old boy who escaped slavery at a Barbados sugar plantation. This is the second time she's taken home the $100,000 cash prize, previously winning in 2011 for her book, Half-Blood Blues. And our Rosemary Barton was at the event this evening in Toronto and found out what this win means.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You seemed sincerely surprised.
I was sincerely surprised. I really didn't think I was going to win. You know, I won in 2011, and it just, and there were so many terrific books on the short list. I really didn't expect it.
So you're one of the few people that has won twice. What does that change in a writer's life? We did a story on The National on Friday about how writers are really struggling, and this can make all the difference.
It really can. It's what can float you to the next book. You know, we have, I think, like many Canadians, a lot of household debt, and so this is really huge for us. But I'm just so honored.
Yeah, give Canadians who haven't read the book yet, because this is now, it'll be on people's Christmas lists and things like that, give them a sense of what the book speaks to. One of the things you talked about was the strong sense of identity and how you sort of become someone through living, but also through difficult times. How does the book do that?
You know, it's about a character who is born a slave, and so he's known nothing but hardship and savagery his whole life, and then he's plucked out of this situation, you know, very suddenly and surprisingly, and taken out into the world. And he's a character who's full of resilience, and you know, he really is seeking his place in the world and understanding the limits of what that can look like, but also really striving to change things for people like himself. And so it's, I guess it's a tale about sort of how you can continue to go on.
So you said you would use this, I think, for household renovations. That doesn't seem like the most glamorous thing, but that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of debt. We did a house reno and we're still paying it off, and so this will help enormously, but also just in terms of us being able to write and you know, not have to take outside work. It's huge. It's really huge.
Up next on The National, from the prairies to PEI, we will take a closer look at why Canada could be on the brink of a potato shortage.
8% of the crop was left in the field, was not harvested, and there is a fair chunk that's in the bin that probably is in rough shape.
It's tough to be in a boat that's going down together, but we're in a tough boat.
First, we'll look at a story you'll see here tomorrow night on The National. Sasha Petrusik takes us to an underground Protestant church in China, part of an in-depth look at how religion is being controlled in that country. Here's a preview of his dispatch from Beijing.
The Chinese officials are waiting for us at the apartment gate. No foreigner, no camera, he says. Closed. That is until our host, Pastor Shu Yonghai, comes out. After arguing with officials, he invites us up to his small third-story flat. The political pressure on us is growing, he says. See the trouble you had? Our people get stopped all the time.
This is the Korean Peninsula, a 1,000-kilometer strip of land that people have been fighting over for centuries. Split into two countries, it's home to an estimated 75 million people, 25 million in the north and 50 million in the south. But it hasn't always been like this. So how did we get two Koreas, and why is this area such a flashpoint? It's all about location. Located between China and Russia to the north and Japan to the south, it's a strategic peninsula for a number of reasons, like controlling key trading routes and as a potential staging ground for attacks. Not surprisingly, China, Russia, Japan, and the US have all exerted their influence over Korea at one time or another, sparking a number of conflicts. By the turn of the 20th century, after 2,000 years of primarily Chinese control, Japan formally annexed Korea in August 1910. Japanese rule was harsh. Even today, there's a lingering bitterness toward Japan. Japan's hold on Korea ended with the Second World War when it surrendered to the Allies. Korea was temporarily split at that 38th parallel until an independent and unified Korean government could be established. And in the meantime, the Soviet Union would control the north with the US in control of the south. Why the 38th parallel? Well, because a pair of pressed-for-time US officers chose it arbitrarily from a National Geographic map. So the two Koreas were born, with UN plans for fair and democratic elections for both. But that didn't happen. In the north, Soviet-backed Kim Il-sung, he's the grandfather of this guy, set up a brutal communist dictatorship, while in the south, the US-backed a fierce anti-communist, Syngman Rhee, and the US military pulled out. At this point, the Cold War was in its third year. Both leaders claimed sovereignty over the entire peninsula. Then Kim, with Mao and Stalin's support and Soviet arms, attempted to unify Korea by force, thus starting the Korean War. Northern troops crossed the 38th parallel and with no US soldiers to help repel them, quickly cornered the South. But the Americans came back, leading a UN coalition that also included some 26,000 Canadians to push the North back. They did, and advanced, taking the northern capital, Pyongyang. This was uncomfortably close for the Chinese, so China joined the North Korean effort, helped stop the UN advance, and push coalition forces back behind that dividing line. This back and forth continued. After 3 years and more than 2 million people killed, including 516 Canadians, the war hit a stalemate. An armistice agreement was signed, leaving that dividing line pretty much where it started. A side note, an armistice is not the same as a peace treaty, so technically the two countries are still at war. Today, the North and South are separated by this, a 4-kilometer wide stretch known as the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone. A misnomer, because actually it's the world's most militarized border. Today, 7 decades later, the truce still holds, but the region is in a chronic state of tension. As for South Korea, 2018 opened with signs of a possible short-term thaw between Seoul and Pyongyang. Both sides agreed to talks, and the North said it would participate in the South's Olympic Winter Games. But as the past has shown, tempers can flare and talks can end suddenly, with both countries returning to their old positions. The geopolitics are obviously complex.
It may soon get more expensive to supersize your fries, not to mention buying those spuds for baking or mashing. The country is facing a potato shortage. That is because a harsh fall harvest is causing millions of dollars worth of Canadian potatoes to rot in the ground. And as Cameron McIntosh explains, there was already a problem with supply.
Under that snow, Chad Berry's potatoes are frozen and rotting.
Well, it's hoping, not real encouraging, but you hope better for next year.
Others are spoiling in the bin.
It's going to be garbage.
The cold, wet fall making this potato harvest one of the worst in memory.
8% of the crop was left in the field, was not harvested, and There is a fair chunk that's in the bin that probably is in rough shape, that maybe might have trouble marketing through the year.
For Manitoba, losses will total about $15 million. Not catastrophic, but compounding what could become a national potato shortage. In PEI, a similar story, where hopes for recovery from a rough season last year are, well, being mashed.
It's tough to be in a boat that's going down together, but we're in a tough boat.
PEI and Manitoba are Canada's two largest potato producers. While a shortage isn't being felt in grocery stores yet, potato processors are starting to look elsewhere. Portage-la Prairie is home to two of Canada's largest potato processing plants, one expanding to be one of North America's largest. To keep them going, potatoes will likely need to come in from the US. Adding to all this, drought in Europe. More than 25% of potato crops were lost there, stretching global supplies. As inventories dwindle, Canadian prices could rise.
We're looking at a loss of several million hundredweight of potatoes.
Kevin McIsaac is with the United Potato Growers of Canada.
We know that our supply is less. We would say we have the same demand as last year, so we would expect to see prices increase somewhat.
For now, what's being left behind is a write-off.
We're done here now. There's no way we'll be digging anymore.
This year's frozen crop will be next year's fertilizer. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Portage-la Prairie.
Next on the National, 63 years after her death, Viola Desmond becomes the first Canadian woman to grace a Canadian bill. And her sister couldn't be more excited to finally hold it in her hands.
If I could dance, I would dance. If I could sing, if my relatives are in the audience, my son and daughter, they'd say, no, don't do that, Mom. We love you, but don't sing.
It gets better. Her reaction, our moment of the day right after the break. But first, in case you missed it, the people of Finland are busy raking their leaves. It's apparently an activity they take pretty seriously.
We have to rake. It's mandatory in Finland. We have to rake 2 hours per day. But hey, we got the greatest rakes in the world.
So why all the extra manual labor? Well, they have Donald Trump to thank for that and the comments he made during his visit to Northern California over the weekend, where he praised Finland's efforts to prevent wildfires.
I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we have a much different, we're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem.
That was news to the Finns, and they've since taken to social media, rakes in hand, to share their sarcasm.
Thank you, Mr. President Donald Trump.
Just search for #RakeNews or Rake America Great Again, or the Finnish word for raking. You get the idea. And Canadians are also getting in on the fun with a little help from a forest Roomba. As for the president of Finland, he says he briefly spoke with Trump about forest management last week and doesn't know where the U.S. president picked up his beliefs about raking.
Beavers are really cute, mostly I think if we see them on a nickel or if you're lucky enough to see them in the wild, but not in the family kitchen. Bucky. But that's where you'll find one Canadian beaver. Chris and Diane Lund of Rennie, Manitoba adopted Bucky a year and a half ago when he was 4 days old. Bucky took to human habits pretty quickly, eating everything from cereal to fruit to chili. Some instincts, though, die hard. Bucky can often be found building dams, and he's not too particular about what he uses or where he builds them. The children in the family find him an absolutely delightful friend.
Joining us now from Rennie, Manitoba, Diane and Chris Lunn, and of course, Bucky the beaver. And Chris, can you tell us, how do you end up adopting a beaver?
Well, I work as a problem animal person for the province, and we were removing some beaver from a site where they were flooding the land, and we had removed most of the beaver, or so we thought we did, and it turned up that there was still a mother and one baby beaver close by, so the mother had got accidentally killed during the blasting of the beaver dam, so we ended up with this little guy that we really didn't know what to do with, so we took him home, and hoped on looking after him for a while and hoping that a zoo or some other place where they keep animals would take him, but so far it's ended up we've been keeping him ourselves.
Where does a beaver sleep when it's a little baby? I mean, did you have a nice little warm place? What did it do?
He either slept on my chest or in the waterbed with us.
What's it like living with a beaver? I hear Bucky. Bucky's getting a comment in there somehow.
Yeah, he's got to have his 2 cents in.
Diane, what's it like living with a beaver? I mean, is it like having a small child following you around?
Yeah, it is. He gets into much trouble as a kid, but...
Oh, what does he eat?
Fruit, vegetables, bread, cereals, cookies, anything, except meat.
Oh, except meat. Doesn't like that?
No.
Chris, now from what I understand, beavers enjoy building dams. I mean, has Bucky forgotten all about that, or does he still remember doing that? I mean, where does he build these dams that we're hearing about?
No, he's still got that instinctive thing in him where he'll pick up carpets, shoes, anything that's loose on the floor, and make a dam out of it, either in a stairway or in a doorway.
Have you ever tripped over one of his makeshift dams?
No, a lot of times.
How have the kids enjoyed having Bucky as a pet?
Oh, actually, they really enjoy him, and if we do happen to give him away, it'll probably be a little hard to do, because they were actually quite attached to him.
Discover Homegrown Films.
Adam, look at me. I need the truth. You tell it exactly like it happened.
Extraordinary stories.
Why did you go out there today?
Because it scared me.
Incredible performances.
You wait! What? You want to disown me too? Fine, go ahead. You know what? I don't care anymore.
New films added every week, only on the CBC TV app.
John, are you there? Hey. Who are those voices?
Your children?
Look who's back in the house. Welcome, you.
David! David! Stop!
Oh, damn. Is she okay? Yeah, she's just sleeping.
Okay, can somebody close her eyelids at least, please?
The new $10 bill went into circulation today, and people in Halifax lined up to trade old banknotes for the new. This one features Viola Desmond, who became a champion of civil rights after being arrested for sitting in the wrong section of a movie theater in New Glasgow in 1946. Her sister, Wanda Robson, was at the unveiling ceremony at the Human Rights Museum in Winnipeg, and she was the first person to spend the new bill on a book written about her sister. She spoke about what this day and the bill means to her, and that is our moment of the day.
You know what I've got here? I have got my sister, Viola. This is such a momentous occasion, and it's unbelievable to think that, well, I'll put myself first. My sister. A woman, a black woman, is ordered on a $10 bill. The Queen is in good company. Thank you. Thank you.
The Queen is in good company, and I know this is all about Viola Desmond, but Canadians are quickly falling in love with this rowdy, riveting Wanda. She is, I think people are really falling for this woman, and rightly so. The whole family's remarkable.
You know, I have to admit, when I first heard about the announcement, I didn't pay a huge amount of attention. Maybe we were busy on a big news story that day, but as I see this story today, I just keep thinking back to where I grew up, which wasn't very far from New Glasgow, and I was in school, I mean, maybe just over 20 years after this happened. I didn't learn anything about this. I knew more about the American civil rights movement than something happening in our backyard. So good for everybody involved in this for noting it, and an important part of Canadian history. That is the National for November the 19th. Good night.
Good night.